I'm Aaron Sagers, and this is Talking Strange.
Hey there, spooky nerds. Welcome back to Talking Strange, the paranormal pop culture show. I'm Aaron Sagers, and today I'm talking with a buddy of mine, an actor, a writer, a certified lifelong monster kid, David Dastmalchian. And of course, you know him from Dune, Late Night with the Devil, The Dark Knight. And of course, he is the creator of the comic book Count Crowley, Reluctant Midnight Monster Hunter. And he hosts the Coffin Side YouTube show and podcast, Grave Conversations. And he's in the new movie, Dust Bunny, opening December 12th. Now, this is a movie that I'm excited to talk about. This is just, I feel like it's one of those films that was made like for me. And also for other spooky nerds like me, like you. And so on another episode this week, we spoke with Dust Bunny writer and director Bryan Fuller, the man behind Hannibal, excellent TV series, Pushing Daisies, excellent TV series, Dead to Me, a series I really enjoyed when that came out and wish it would come back. And this film is fantastic. It's fun. It's weird. I really love it. I've been saying it reminds me of John Wick meets Amelie in terms of this hyper-realized fantasy world filled with over-the-top characters. It also just looks stunning, and it's a great fairy tale. It really just blends fantasy, violence, and heart. And in Dust Bunny, David plays this strange hitman that is hunting Mads Mikkelsen through this dark fairy tale world that was created by Bryan Fuller. And this is a world where childhood monsters may not just be imaginary, they might be very, very real. So we talk about the monsters that David grew up with and how they shaped his work. Also why this film feels like a twisted bedtime story, and a little bit about his thought process behind this hitman character, and then why some monsters don't disappear, they just sort of evolve. So let's get to it with David Dastmalchian talking about Dust Bunny, which is in theaters December 12th. Absolutely got a kick out of this film, as I told you. I love it to pieces. And when you were talking to Bryan about this, how did he sell sort of this world? What did he tell you about this world, and what made you fall in love with it?
Well, first of all, he didn't have to sell me on anything. It was Bryan Fuller. So I got my ticket as soon as I knew it was available. Sign me up, I said. What he talked about was the character and the character's motivation. And I mean, he gave me the log line basically, but then he told me the story from my character's point of view. And here you're going to be on this mission. There is a man who has done bad things that you're going to be taking out. And it doesn't matter why you're taking him out. It's my job. And this is Mads Mikkelsen that I'm coming after. And in the midst of what seems like a pretty cut and dried mission, all of a sudden I come upon this man in one of his regular haunts, which is the dim sum restaurant, and he is seated with this 10-year-old girl. And here comes the conflict. And, you know, traditionally in films, I feel like, you know, the hitman doesn't give a shit about a 10-year-old girl in the way. It's just we're going to go right through her to get whatever we need to get the object so I can get paid. And Bryan created, in me this deep curiosity about, I want you to think about what is it in her? What do you see there that just makes you stop? And all the wheels come screeching to a halt and you're like, oh no, how am I going to solve this problem? And I thought a lot about it. I was like, did I have a child that I lost? Was there like a niece at some point? Was there a sister in my childhood who I lost? And so I like to keep those like history stories to myself, but I do know, but it was really fun with Bryan creating and thinking about that. So that was it, Aaron. And it was Bryan. I mean, again, it was Bryan Fuller. It was like the directorial debut, the cinematic entree of one of the great master storytellers who I also happen to love dearly and consider a close friend, just like someone else in this interview.
And he's into spooky stuff. So I was on board, obviously, with that. And I mean, he your character, and I can appreciate wanting to keep that backstory a little bit hidden as part of your own process, but it does. We get the sense that he's part of sort of bigger machinations, either connected more to Sigourney Weaver's character. Is there anything like that you can share that Bryan kind of fed to you about the character, or do you want to keep that secret?
Well, no, the organization that I'm working with, and the connection to Sigourney Weaver's and Mads Mikkelsen's organization, and there's all kinds of spider webby tendrils between the criminal operations in this fantastical world of Bryan's. But that being said, I like to imagine that I get my assignments rather anonymously. I was imagining that, like, you get your dossier, you get your envelope, you know your price. This guy is, by the way, a high price. Mads's character to me was like a big shark. Like, I taking him out was going to be a very good payday because he's very good at his job, but I am even better.
And this would obviously be a good status to take down the white whale of Mads.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I know we've talked a lot about our own being monster kids and spooky things, and we've talked about legends from where you grew up. But this being revolving around a kid that is having has imaginary monsters, or maybe not so imaginary. Did you have a monster under your bed or in your closet? What
Mine, I had two. I had a very small version of like what looked like a traditional Karlovian Frankenstein's monster, but he was only like 4 feet tall that would come out of this mini door in my closet sometimes in my nightmares and chase me around the house. And then there was a several people in my in the dark parts of my house that transitioned into werewolves. I would come downstairs in my childhood nightmare escape, or maybe it was real. And there was one guy in particular who would be standing in the fireplace, and he would be trying to incinerate himself out of fear of turning into a werewolf. But he would always turn into a werewolf before I could get away, and he'd come after me. So the answer is yes. And if I had a hitman I could have hired to help me take them out, I certainly would have, because they scared the living poop out of me.
Mine, we haven't talked about it, but mine was also sort of a Karloffan Frankenstein's type of creature that was an
Really
imaginary monster. Yeah. And
interesting.
hiding behind the shower curtain in the bathroom when I had to go pee late at night. And
Terrifying.
did you reconcile with the monsters? Did you befriend them and say, okay, I don't have anything to be afraid of. You don't have anything to be afraid of, or did they remain scary?
Both of those are interesting things to consider. I don't know what they manifested or what it was that I was so afraid of as a kid, but I'm still so utterly terrified as an adult of many things that take other forms of manifestation. But I look back on that small Frankenstein's monster coming towards me. He wasn't actually wielding any weaponry. As far as I could tell, he didn't have sharp teeth. He was probably smaller than I was. So maybe he was just trying to tell me something. And as for the werewolf, the interesting thing about the werewolves in all of those fears that I had, they were always coming to me first for help. And then they would transform and be overtaken by the monsters within. Therefore, as a grown up, I've gotten through writing. I've got Count Crowley, Reluctant Midnight Monster Hunter, which deals with that stuff a lot. I'm currently writing the accessories with my writing partner, Leah Kilpatrick, and that absolutely deals with these themes. And I have many, many, many more other projects, good fiend or otherwise, that delve into that stuff. And so, yeah, the story continues, Aaron. The nightmares continue. I still wake up fully anxious, fully terrified, and I'm a grown ass man now.
Yeah. Well, the nightmares evolve, I guess. But you also, there's some great comedic moments in this film. Again, just like so fantastical and lovely throughout. But even though you've been able to flex your comedic chops before, was there something sort of different, unique to Dust Bunny that you had some beats where you're like, I can play the comedy a little bit more than maybe I normally get to?
Yeah, it was Bryan. He creates a tonal space that is larger than life while still being grounded in authentic human emotion. So my acting instincts were really nurtured and pushed by Bryan in an encouraging way to expand on like emotional resonance. Say when we are in the hall and something is rumbling under the ground, and the way in which I get to react to that, or when I've been shot and I need some pain medicine and I'm chomping on those little pain pills. He was like, this world exists as like an 11. If the real world goes to 10, Bryan's world goes to 11. It's not a CGI crazy sci-fi fantasy that's just everything. It still feels grounded, but yet the colors, the tone, the shape of things is just a little bit bigger. It's glorious, you know. It's Spielbergian, it's Dante-ish, it's Sondheim, it's very I said this earlier, yeah, he's got this almost like French New Wave, but in an accessible way that just anybody can go see this movie. And I really want people to take their favorite 10-year-old, 12-year-old, 14-year-old, 44-year-old, 64-year-old, 97-year-old, go take them to this movie and enjoy what it's like to be back at the cinema, because this movie reminds us of why we love movies.
Yeah, I said that this was sort of John Wick meets Amelie in all the best ways and the glorious artistic ways.
I love that.
And just finally, I know we're about out of time, but when you're working on a film like this with like a Bryan Fuller or, you know, other creatives, and then you shift to the Grave Conversations, your YouTube show where your talk show set in coffins, but it's maybe something that you've learned about like a Bryan that you didn't pick up from the working process in this kind of intimate setting, conversational setting.
And I've spent countless hundreds, thousands of hours with Bryan as a friend, playing games, hanging out, traveling. But when you lay next to somebody in a coffin and you get to be a child with them and just stare at this, it's almost like staring at the clouds on the side of a hill, just talking about life, really getting into those end of life conversations, mortality, what people think about the afterlife. It's another corner, another part of their personality, of their soul. And I'm so honored that so many people have felt comfortable enough to get in that space with me, Bryan included, as he is about to be debuting in our upcoming season.
I knew that.
I'm going to get you in there one of these days.
I mean, I do love a good cozy coffin, you know, nice velvet lining, I guess. Sign me up. And look, this is a Christmas, it's coming out during holiday season. So I guess finally pitch it as a Christmas movie. Why is this a great movie for the season?
Oh, it's a perfect movie for this season. It's all the stuff you love about going to the movies in the midst of the holiday bustle. It's a perfect experience to share with your family. It will make you laugh. It will take you on an incredible adventure. And it is something that no matter what walk of life you're from or how you celebrate the holidays, everybody loves a great story. And this is one of the best you're going to get this holiday season.
Love it. And that was actor, writer, fellow monster kid David Dastmalchian talking about Dust Bunny, talking about childhood fears, fairy tale monsters, and about laying it all out in coffins for his show Grave Conversations on YouTube and the podcast. And do yourself a favor. Grab your favorite monster-loving human, hit the theaters, experience the kind of movie that reminds you why this stuff really sticks with us long after the lights come back on. Dust Bunny, this dark fairy tale, opens December 12th in theaters. Do check it out. I think you're really going to dig this. And if you know anything about the stuff I love, when I say I'm into it, I think you're going to be into it as well. And hey, remember, the monsters under the bed, they just might grow up with you, but they don't always mean harm. Okay, I'm Aaron Sagers. This has been Talking Strange. Until next time, remember, be kind, stay spooky, and keep it weird.